So we need to have a talk about AI in relation to counseling and interhuman, interconnected relationships. Um, a few probably a few months back, one of my first videos actually was looking at AI and people's dependence on it, especially when it comes to detaching themselves from real world relationships in favor of these chatbots, like ChatGPT, Copilot, different things like that. And what I found was super interesting over the last couple of weeks. I've been trying to shoot this video, but obviously the holidays and things get in the way, is that now we actually are starting to get some empirical data, some studies, some peer-reviewed, science-based research that is telling us a little bit more about the specifics of where that dependence is coming from and what people are experiencing in it. And I do think that there's a gap that not just faith leaders and pastors and different things, but I think anybody who's in clinical therapy, who's in counseling services, any sort of assistance for people, I think this is going to be something that we all have to address. And it's really, quite frankly, already here. And so what I do think is super interesting is there was a recent study by Computers in Human Behavior. That's where it was published, that really looked at the appeal, but also some of the flaws of ChatGPT as a clinical counselor, therapy kind of thing. Users feel like there was a light at the end of the tunnel after their sessions with AI counseling, the promise, the good about AI counseling. They said, hey, I got clarity. I had a sense of hope. There was something that was really awesome here. But what happened was ChatGPT specifically demonstrated poor assessment of risk and failed to address safety concerns. And so it wasn't able to actually assess where emotionally people were at. And so it was failing to address serious risks and be able to give them the right kind of next steps moving forward. A lot of people said that it was common sense advice that was really easy. It gave them practical steps for them to consider. And so that's why they enjoyed having a therapy session with ChatGPT. But here's the thing. It struggles to reach collaborative solutions in the way that traditional therapy and counseling services do. And so what it's doing is it's providing next steps based on its own algorithm and its own functioning, as opposed to working with the client. One of the other reasons is obviously because of the accessibility, both 24/7 services, but then also being free or near free. They said that, AI had high empathy and helpfulness, but here's the problem. It's overtly clinical. Because it's a chatbot and it's using code in order to pull from what the prompts are giving it and all this stuff, it's not personalized to individual needs. It's way too clinical. It's giving way too generic of responses to really personal things. You have this concept of artificial empathy versus true human compassion. There's this symptom of real world barriers that are now being crashed through because of the accessibility of AI and chatbots. There's actually a real big problem when it comes to having empathy that's artificial and not having a true human connection. We don't need more technology. We don't need more mimicry. What we need is genuine, and I would even say spirit-led, for believers, compassion. That's rooted in God's word, that's rooted in faith. But even if you don't subscribe to that, this is something that needs to get addressed even from the most clinical of counseling services and, different places that help people with, interpersonal relationships. There's really this anonymity that is a double-edged sword, because as users feel more safe, it's just bypassing the need for community. Now, we know as believers that is found and rooted in the person of Jesus and then the relationship that we have with each other. However, if you're not going to subscribe to a Christian framework, I think you're wrong. But we still need a relationship. There still has to be community that's found in some way. And if you're seeking counsel in digital anonymity, it can rob you of the relationships that you need to be able to flourish in your life. So if they're doing that, in our young adults, which that's where this study had come out of like 18 to 21 year olds, it's even more of a big deal when it comes to our youth. There was a study that was done by Brown University, Harvard, and Rand. There were researchers who came together for this, and they said 1 in 8 of adolescents and youth, this is ages 12 through 21, have already begun to use chatbots for mental health advice. 1 in 5 in young adults said that they're using their AI chatbot for mental health advice. 93% of these young users report that the AI's advice was helpful. And so they're going to these chatbots, they're going to specifically ChatGPT and trying to seek something out of this. But we know that it's just code, it's just algorithms, it's just whatever information that gets fed to that AI system that is actually spitting these responses out. So there's no real ability to speak to the specific needs of the user. There's no ability to tailor things towards those person. The whole thing is an illusion. There's an illusion of helpfulness, right? If 93% of individuals who are using ChatGPT for these things say that it's helpful, then we have to try to figure out how to introduce a human element back into this. We have to understand how to introduce humanity and those nuanced emotions, both from the person who's giving care, but also the person who's receiving care, so that that it's not this very static, sanitized version of counseling and therapy. I just think that you even look at some of the things that OpenAI has released itself. They said that 0.07% of weekly users show sign of people in mental health emergencies. This translates to about 560,000 people per week. There were some who had planned to take their own life. They said that 0.15% of weekly users show explicit indicators of potential planning or intent. That's an estimated 1.2 million people per week. And like I said, if it's not able to identify these elements of risk, then it's not able to catch these things. And it could either be passive or actually encourage people to make decisions that are permanent, and that is a really unfortunate thing. And there's actually already some lawsuits and civil suits that are addressing this very thing, because people are listening to the advice of the chatbot and it's not equipped to deal with these things. And so the results are really catastrophic. If AI offers information, it's not actually offering transformation. It's providing a list of resources, but it's not actually providing hope. It's not actually providing any benefit really for these people. And so they're walking with this illusion that they're getting better or that they're getting help when they're really not. They're actually maybe even in a worse spot than they were before. Again, it goes back to this thing of deception and an illusion. It's all smoke and mirrors. And if AI doesn't have a conscience, no soul, no accountability for the things that it's doing, then it can't really truly care for the user in any meaningful kind of sense. I think that we're seeing a lot of people who are dependent on their AI. OpenAI again released a lot of information. They said about 1.2 people are showing heightened emotional attachment to their chatbot, to the point that the company got so concerned that they started programming ChatGPT to gently start pushing back on people and to stop allowing some of that attachment to be there. And so this is just a really, really dangerous thing, and something that we really don't know all of the answers to yet. And I think it's a call for, again, not only faith leaders in churches and Christians, but really anybody who's in a field where you're trying to help people, especially people who are struggling in their mental health, struggling in their interpersonal relationships and things like that. This is going to be a problem in the future. It's already here. And so this is something that really does need to get addressed. Last time, a couple months back, I showed you a video and I was like kind of laughing at the absurdity. That actually is becoming more of a trend than even it was just a couple of months ago. And so it's very rapid right now. And I would be curious to know your thoughts. Are you using ChatGPT in this way? Are you using other AI to kind of handle your personal interpersonal relationships? And are you even using it for counseling? How is that going? And yeah, would you ever consider, ditching AI and going back into, a more traditional route of counseling services or mental health services? Let me know what you think. Can't wait to hear from you. See you.